I've always been good at being composed. Not calm, composed. There's a difference. Calm is natural. Composed is learned. And I learned it early. People often told me I was steady, reliable, hard to shake. I took it as a compliment. I didn't realize it was also a distance. Her name was Claire. We met at a friend's dinner, the kind where everyone pretends not to notice who's sizing up whom. She laughed easily, but not loudly. She listened in a way that made people continue talking. That's what drew me in. Our relationship unfolded slowly. No sparks that burned too bright. No dramatic gestures. Just consistency. Text messages that didn't fade. Conversations that didn't feel rushed. I told myself this was the healthiest thing I'd ever had. Claire had a way of asking questions that felt gentle but precise. Not invasive. Intentional. "What do you feel when you're quiet?" she asked me once. I remember blinking. No one had ever asked me that. "I think when I'm quiet, I'm at peace," I said. She nodded, but she didn't look convinced. She shared easily, not recklessly, but honestly, her fears, her past relationships, the ways she'd been disappointed, and how she still hoped anyway. I admired that, and part of me feared it. I responded with support, advice, perspective, things I was good at. But I noticed something over time. When she opened emotionally, she leaned forward. When I did, I leaned back. We moved in together after a year, not because we planned it, because it felt practical. Same neighborhood, same routines. I told myself love matured when it became efficient. Claire decorated the apartment with personal things, photos, textures, softness. I contributed storage solutions. At night, she liked to talk before sleeping. Not about the day, about thoughts, worries that surfaced only when the lights were off. I listened, but when it was my turn, I struggled. I didn't know how to describe what I felt, because most of the time I didn't feel anything loud enough to name. One night, she said something that stayed with me. "You disappear emotionally when things get close." I wanted to deny it, but I couldn't. "I'm right here," I said. She smiled gently. "I know," she replied. That's the confusing part. I started noticing the pattern. How I withheld vulnerability until it felt safe. How I avoided uncertainty by staying neutral. How being seen felt more dangerous than being alone. Claire never pushed. She waited. And I mistook her patience for acceptance. There was a moment, small, easily overlooked. We were sitting on the couch. She rested her head on my shoulder and said, "I want to know you the way you know everyone else." I felt my chest tighten, not with emotion, with fear. Not with emotion, with fear. I didn't know then that this was the beginning of something ending. I thought we had time. She said that, "I want to know you the way you know everyone else." Nothing visibly changed, but I felt exposed in a way I couldn't name, like a door had been unlocked without my permission. I became more careful, not colder, more controlled. I answered her questions thoughtfully, but selectively. I shared stories, not feelings. Events, not reactions. Claire noticed. She always did. But instead of confronting me, she adjusted. That should have scared me. It didn't. It felt like relief. She stopped asking about my inner world, stopped waiting for moments of emotional openness. She laughed the same, touched me the same. But something in her eyes had shifted, less searching, more observing. One evening, we attended a dinner with friends. People talked about work stress, relationships, plans. At one point, someone asked Claire what she'd learned from living with me. She paused, just a second too long. "That he's incredibly thoughtful," she said, "and very private." Everyone laughed lightly. I smiled, but I felt something tighten in my chest. Later that night, she brought it up, not accusing, curious. "Do you trust me?" she asked. "Yes," I said immediately. "Then why do you keep parts of yourself locked away?" That question stayed unanswered, not because I didn't want to answer, because I didn't know how. I'd always believed privacy was strength, that independence meant not needing to be witnessed. But Claire didn't want to fix me. She wanted to know me, and that terrified me more than being left. I started working longer hours, not consciously, but being busy gave me an excuse not to go inward. Claire filled the silence in other ways: journaling, long walks, conversations with friends I wasn't part of. One night, she told me she'd started therapy. I nodded, supportive, but distant. "I'm learning how to ask for what I need," she said. I said I was glad. I didn't ask what she needed. Weeks passed like that, calm, functional, and quietly hollow. Then one night, she asked me to sit with her. No phones, no distractions, just us. "I don't want to fight," she said. "I want to understand if this is as close as you can get." The question wasn't loud. It was devastating. I felt pressure rise in my chest. The urge to reassure her without revealing anything. To promise safety without vulnerability. "This is just how I am," I said. And the moment I said it, I felt the weight of it. A boundary disguised as identity. She didn't argue. She nodded slowly. "That's what I needed to know," she said. That sentence landed heavier than anger ever could. After that night, she pulled back, gently, not in affection, in expectation. She stopped waiting for me to open, stopped leaning forward emotionally. I told myself this was balance, that we'd found a rhythm that worked. But deep down, I knew something important was happening without my input. Claire was deciding how much of herself to keep offering, and how much to protect. One morning, she kissed me goodbye and said, "I'm going to stay at my sister's for a few days." Her tone was calm, resolved. I didn't ask why. I told myself space was healthy. But alone in the apartment, I realized something unsettling. I wasn't afraid of losing her. I was afraid of being fully known and found insufficient. And that fear had been shaping every choice I made. For the first time, I wondered, was my composure strength or avoidance refined 2 days after Claire left? Not empty, quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't distract, it listens. I went through my routines: coffee, work emails, gym, everything functioned. But the absence of her expectations made something clear. I had been living efficiently, not honestly. On the third night, I opened a drawer I rarely touched. Inside were old notebooks, unfinished thoughts, sentences written and abandoned, fear disguised as reflection. One line stood out: "If they see everything, they might leave." I didn't remember writing it, but I recognized the voice. I realized something uncomfortable. I didn't hide because I didn't trust others. I hid because I didn't trust myself to be enough without control. Claire hadn't asked for perfection. She had asked for presence, and I had offered distance wrapped in stability. I went for a long walk that night. No music, no phone, just the sound of my steps and thoughts I usually outran. I asked myself a question I'd avoided for years. What am I protecting? The answer surprised me. Not wounds, not trauma, but uncertainty. I'd built an identity around being composed, reliable, unshaken. Letting someone see doubt felt like erasing myself. On the fourth day, I called her, not to fix things, not to convince, just to speak. "I think I finally understand what I've been doing," I said. She didn't interrupt. "I learned how to be stable by being closed, and I confused that with strength." Silence, then a breath. "I don't need you to become someone else," she said. "I just needed to know you were willing to be seen." We met the next day. Neutral space, a small cafe neither of us owned emotionally. I didn't prepare a speech. I told her what I'd never said out loud, that sometimes I didn't know how I felt, that I was afraid of depending on someone, that I'd learned early that calm meant survival. She listened, not like someone collecting evidence, like someone deciding whether to stay. "I don't want access to everything," she said. "I want movement. I want to know you're walking toward me, not standing still." That night, we didn't resolve everything. We didn't promise forever. We didn't erase patterns overnight. But something shifted. I stopped managing my image and started allowing my presence. Weeks later, I noticed changes. Small ones. I spoke before rehearsing. I admitted uncertainty. I didn't fill silence immediately. Vulnerability didn't make me weaker. It made me reachable. Claire didn't need me to be exposed all the time. She needed to know I wasn't hiding by default. Some nights, fear still surfaced, the instinct to retreat, to close the door gently and call it peace. But now, I recognized it. And sometimes, not always, I chose differently. I learned something I wish I'd known earlier. Distance feels safe until it becomes loneliness with good posture. I didn't become a new man. I became a more visible one. And for the first time, that felt like real strength.